There's a strong vibration in this place, so I hope we're all going to take advantage of it. You know, open your heart to it, experience it, acknowledge it, receive it. Yes, it's the infilling of spirit. So turn to somebody and tell them, He will raise you up. He will raise you up. He will raise you up. Yes. Anybody here need to be lifted up? Yes. We can all stand a little lifting up. I'm thinking that we as light bearers, we certainly have had our work cut out for us, haven't we? We've had our work cut out for us lately. But, you know, I was thinking, when you are equipped for the job that is at hand, it makes things easier. Does it not? When you're equipped to do whatever is necessary to be done, it makes the job easier. And we as light bearers are being equipped to do this sacred and powerful work that we agreed to on a soul level. Even if you don't remember yourself saying, Lord, I agree to be a light. You did on a soul level, trust me. Prayers, the ability to hold consciousness, auspicious speech, good vibrations, and a deep desire to be a force for good are all great qualities of a light bearer. And at some point during this year, I've talked about those qualities, right? They're all good qualities. To be a light bearer, a bearer of the light. But you know, light shines in various degrees, which means you could be a spotlight, right? You could be a 15-watt bulb or a 150-watt bulb. You could be a laser beam. You could be a reflective prism. Maybe you just reflect the light. Maybe you're a matchstick or a candle. See, the point is that the intensity of light has an effect on whatever is seen or known or manifested. The intensity of light will affect whatever is seen. If it's a low light, not much will be seen. Right? Not much will be experienced. Not much will be known. If it's a large capacity of light, well, more will be seen and more will be known and more will be manifested. So as light bearers then, we would want our light to shine so brightly that it magnifies and glorifies God. Think about magnifying God, right? You want your light to be so bright that when you walk into a room or when people come into your presence, they say, woo, look at the magnification of God over there. That your life somehow, your life itself, your being itself causes other people, because that's what Jesus said, that when your light shines brightly, it will cause others to glorify God. But when you come into a presence and your light is so bright, they say, woo, look at God. Look at how God is showing up in that person's life. Look at how God is magnified through that individual's experiences. You want to be able to magnify God, because when you magnify God, to magnify means to what? To show it out in a greater fashion. You want to show God out in the greatest fashion there is. You want to magnify and glorify God. You want your light to be so bright that it has the capacity to dispel the darkness and the effects of darkness, because darkness can produce some limiting effects, can it not? We've already seen what darkness can do. But you want your light to be somebody that dispels the darkness and the effects of darkness. You want to be able to have the actual power and the capacity and the effect of being like a magnifying glass. You remember when you were a child, anybody ever play with a magnifying glass? It was so wonderful because, it was like magic. You held it up to the light, right? And that light, and you held maybe to a piece of paper, and you could do what? You could burn a hole in that piece of paper with that magnifying glass if you worked with the light. Or you could see something greater. You could examine all the small details, and it was all of a sudden, it enabled you to see it differently, to see it in a greater capacity. You want your light to be as if it were a magnifying glass, able to actually burn away negativity and to transform all the conditions that are less than. See, in order for you to have that ability, your light to be so bright that it actually magnifies God and glorifies God, or that you are now functioning like a magnifying glass, you're going to need some things. You're going to need some focus. You got to be able to focus. You need to be faith-filled, and you need to be fervent. If you're going to be a magnifying glass and you're going to magnify, you got to be focused, meaning that you have to be able to be single-eyed. You got to be clear in your consciousness, clear in your purpose, to be focused, right? You need focus. You got to be clear in your intentions, on point, if you're going to be a magnifying glass. You have to be faith-filled. That is, you got to come with no doubt. You have to come with being strong and steady, not wavering. Not double-eyed, not sure which way to go. You need to be steady, clear, focused, faith-filled, and you need to be fervent. Now, to be fervent means it's just to be passionate. It says, this is a definition. It says, fervent means having or displaying a passionate intensity. I like that, having or displaying a passionate intensity. It also means, this is an archaic meaning for fervent, it means hot, burning, or glowing. Hot, burning, or glowing. Now, I want to be all of those things. See, I want to be glowing. I want to be hot. Now, I'm talking about the spiritual hot, see? Y'all are wrong. Well, maybe that part too, but spiritually hot, glowing, passionate with my intensity. Because if I'm not passionate about my spiritual growth, if I'm not passionate and I'm not intense about what I'm trying to do in this life, then what good is it? Why am I on the path? What am I doing? So I want to do that. One of my favorite quotes about light comes from Luke. Luke chapter 11, verse 33 through 36. Because you want your light to be focused, faith-filled, fervent, intense, clear. And this is what it says about receiving the light. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. No one lights a lamp and then hides it or puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where its light can be seen by all who enter the house. Your eye is a lamp that produces light for your body. When your eye is good, your whole body is filled with light. But when it is bad, your body is filled with darkness. Make sure that the light you think you have is not actually darkness. If you are filled with light with no dark corners, then your whole life will be radiant, as though a floodlight were filling you with light. I love this scripture. First of all, you got to make sure that the light you think you have is not masquerading as darkness. So we've got to be able to distinguish between what's showing up in our life is as a result of our light or as a result of perhaps allowing darkness to enter into the house, into the consciousness, into the mind. Now, as I looked at this scripture, I see that there are basically it outlines for me two major aspects of the work we are to do in consciousness. Because light is all about awareness, right? Consciousness, seeing, knowing. And this scripture tells me how we're supposed to approach working in our consciousness. Now, one way that it says is that you're to fill yourself with so much light that there are no dark corners in your consciousness. No dark corners in your consciousness. And therefore, it said, when that happens, your whole life will be radiant. Your life will be bright. And you'll be able to see whatever it is that needs to be healed within you. When you are bringing light, when there's so much light in your consciousness and it is shining upon the dark corners, then that's where you know you need to be healed, right? The things that are hidden from us. And when to be healed is to be whole. Whole, spirit, soul, mind, and body. Everything is working in alignment. Everything is good. Your spiritual life is good, your consciousness, your psychological life is good, your physical life is good. Everything is working well for you when light is shining in all aspects of your consciousness. Now, where I am right now, personally for me in my life, is I'm doing this work right now because I'm determined to light up the dark corners in my consciousness. Those things that have kept me from really not only reaching my full potential, my divine potential, but expressing it. Those things that have held me back for so long, those things that have kept me from expressing fully and freely who I am as an expression of God with infinite potential, that I've cowered in a little corner and reserved myself to make sure that I was always in this little box, as opposed to just expressing. And so I'm shining light into the dark corners of my consciousness so that I can be whole and well. Now, when you do this work of shining this light into your consciousness, you're really dealing with stuff that's already there. It's a dark corner, it's there, it's been there for a while. Everybody else knows about it except you. Everybody else can see it in you except you. Now, this is the truth, right? And we can't really necessarily even hear it from them because we don't see it in us. And so we end up with conflict. So this looking at the dark corners of your consciousness, you're shining a light. Basically, this first part is dealing with stuff that is already there. It is dealing with stuff that needs to be checked, needs to be healed, needs to be transformed by the light of our awareness. It's not a pretty thing, but it's a necessary thing. So that's the first part of the work we're doing. Shining light in your own mind, in your own life. Don't be afraid to look. Now, while we are working with all this past stuff that is there, the second part is we have to also be very diligent in not creating new stuff, right? Not allowing what comes into our consciousness to go unchecked. Not allowing what comes in, right? So which means we need to be able to be aware of what perspectives, what precepts, what perceptions that we are holding and currently seeing and currently allowing to enter into the consciousness. Because this is very important. Jesus said, your eye is a lamp that provides light for your whole body. And when your eye is good, then your whole body is filled with light. But when it is bad, your body is filled with darkness. So this is important because what it means is that how you see, your eye enables you to see. And we're talking about not just your physical eye, but your spiritual eye, your metaphorical eye. So this is important because what you see, it means how you see, what you see, and how you're perceiving things, how you're interpreting them, how are you naming them, how you're labeling it, how you're judging them. All of those things determine how you will experience things. And without us recognizing that we're the ones that are seeing it as such, Then we fall, and if we can't see that we are seeing it as such, then we feel like a victim of life. This is what's happening. Not this is how I'm seeing it, but this is what's happening. Right? And we always say life is always happening as you are. Right? So how you see it is how you're going to experience it and how it will affect you. And how it affects your consciousness. And this is the second part of this teaching here. One is we're working on our inner stuff that's already there, right? Shining the light in the dark corners. And then the second phase is we need to work with and see what we are currently holding in mind and in consciousness. How we're labeling, how we're calling things to be. Because as you call it, so it is. Right? So, if you see things as good, if you can interpret them as good, that they're leading you to some good, not necessarily that they feel good, but that there's some kind of good in this situation, if you can see it as that, then your manifestations, your body experience, and that's what the body is. The eye is the lamp for the body, which means that when you see it, in a certain level of consciousness, it begins to outpicture in your manifest world, in your body world, in the body consciousness. And if you see it good and name it good, your experience of it will be good. Others may say, oh, this ain't good. But others aren't living your life. Others aren't inside your being. You are the master of your own inner domain. And nobody else can get in here. So it's your experience, right? And vice versa it works the same thing with vice versa. If your perceptions, if you're interpreting things as bad, or you're focused on the limited, or you're focused on the negative, then your whole body, which means your experience, will be filled with what? Darkness, negativity, limitation, fear, and doubt. So perhaps we need a little litmus test to see where our focus actually lies, how we can tell. We want to see the quality of our perceptions. We need to be able to tell if our consciousness is high or if it's low. We need to be able to know if our sight, what we're seeing, is high or is it low, and what our perceptions yield in our experience. You with me? Okay. So when your consciousness is low, I'll give several examples, but when your consciousness is low, you may feel a sense of separation. You might feel separate from others and even separate from God. Have you ever been so low in your consciousness that you feel that God isn't even with you? Yeah. When we get in a low vibration, separation tends to happen. Or we feel that there's a sense of separation. Somehow we feel that we are alone, we're not connected to others, or maybe that we don't fit in, or maybe that we don't measure up. And all of a sudden there's this sense of, I'm in this thing alone, I'm doing it alone. That's a low vibration, low consciousness. That's what that yields. But when your consciousness is high, when there's enough light that is shining within you, you will then be filled with a sense of connectedness. See, when you got low consciousness, you're going to feel and be filled with a sense of separation, separateness, apartness. But when your consciousness is high, you feel like you are a part of the whole. You feel like you're connected not only to God, but to others around you, to life itself. There's a feeling of belonging. There's a feeling of being at one. Not separate, but at one. You feel like you belong. And so whenever you have those two feelings, you can tell where your consciousness is. When your consciousness is low, you may have a tendency to focus on your problems. Or the problem, whatever the problem is. What's wrong? What's not working right? Who's to blame? Who's at fault? Why is this happening? How come it happened? See, all those are the result of a low vibration, because it's the problem, and you never get to what? The solution. But when your consciousness is high, folks, you begin to focus on solutions. Yes, you may identify that something is amiss, that something is not quite where you'd like it to be working well. You recognize that, but you don't stay with what's wrong, what's the problem, how come it's not working. Immediately, once you get the signal that something is amiss, you begin to seek for solutions. This is a high consciousness. You're not going to worry about fault and blame and shame and guilt and all that. It doesn't serve too much energy. You want to know, what is the solution? What can be done to fix this, heal this, bless this, lift this, transform this? That's where the energy is, not on what went wrong and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. Low vibrations. When your vibrations are high, you know that there's a way out. You might not know it immediately, but you know, okay, God, I know there's a way out of this thing. Let's go. You know that this is faithful. You know that there's a way out. You know that there's a solution. And you don't spend time trying to cover up. You try to uncover all the good that's there. When your consciousness is high or low, it shows in your experiences. When your consciousness is low, you may also be experiencing a sense of indifference sometimes. When you have a low vibration, you really you lack the ability to have interest in other things. It could be a form of depression. It could be you lack sympathy. It could be that you don't really care too much about what's going on outside of you or even within you. You're in that indifferent vibration. But when your consciousness is high, you begin to be not indifferent, not disconnected, but you experience a sense of cooperation. You desire to work for the good of the whole. You feel a team effort. There's a consensus in you. You want to share, and you want to include, not separate, but to include. Those are signs of a higher vibration. When your vibration is low, you sometimes will find yourself engaging in a lot of effort to make things happen. See, I've been in that situation too, where I wanted to make it happen. See, because when your vibration and consciousness is low, a lot of fear sets in, and so therefore you gotta, oh God, let me grab this by the horn and let me make this happen. So there's effort in that. All of a sudden you're struggling. You're struggling and straining to keep it all together. But when your consciousness and vibrations are high, there's effortlessness, there's grace, there's ease. You are able to flow with whatever is. You resort less to this head stuff, which is analysis, which causes paralysis, right? All this reason and this logic and trying to figure it all out, that's all head stuff, low vibration. I'm not saying that we don't need to use our head from time to time, but I'm telling you from whence we need to begin and start. Because when your consciousness is high, when your vibration is high, then all of a sudden you are relying less upon the head stuff and you're able to actually receive and experience direct knowing. See, I don't want to have to figure it out. I want to know. There's a difference between that. I have tried to figure it all out. It doesn't work as well. Then when I am open and receptive, when I'm in that feeling of grace, there's direct knowing, there's revelations, there are insights, there's spiritual illumination. Have you had revelations? Have you had direct knowing where you know that you know that you know that you don't have to read it in a book? Reverend Sylvia doesn't have to tell it to you. You know it in your spirit. That's direct downloading. I want to download. When I'm sitting in meditation, just download so that my activity and my expression is effortless. I know what I need to know when I know it. I have the ability to do what needs to be done when it's time to do it. I'm not there fretting and sweating. I'm in flow. See, I'm in a different vibration. When you are in a high vibration, your life just shows up differently. The experiences out here may be the same, but your inner life is different. See, you can tell. Here's some emotional and psychological clues for you. When you're experiencing anger, hurt, depression, struggle, conflict, strife, judgment, resistance, they all equal what kind of a consciousness? Low consciousness, low vibration. But when you begin to experience love, peace, joy, harmony, acceptance, understanding, awareness, open-heartedness, tender-heartedness, forgiveness, that all equals what? high consciousness. It's quite simple. We don't have to figure out the level, but when you look at your life is going to tell you where the level of your consciousness is. Whatever you are focusing on will show you wherever your consciousness is. Are you on the problems? Are you on, limited feelings and expressions and emotions? Or are you on, I'm riding, I know this is going to work out? Are you focused, faith-filled, and fervent? Your consciousness will tell you. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that any of these things, whether you experience anger, hurt, because it's part of the human condition, right? We all experience them. So I'm not saying that it's not necessarily wrong to have them, because we all have them. But what I am saying is you don't want to stay there in that emotion for very long, because the longer you stay there, it will begin to affect the quality of your life. You stay in anger too long, trust me, your life is not going to be pretty. So it's not that we don't have them, but it's being able to quickly recognize it. That's why I want us to be able to, oh, you know what? I'm in a lower vibration right now. I got some fear going on. I got some hurt going on. I got whatever. Let me get to a different place. Let me see if I can raise my vibration and raise my consciousness to have a different experience. How can I lift myself up? If I turn to God, he will raise me up. That's my clue. When I am down and when I am low, it lets me know, ooh, child, you were in your ego, you were in your mind, you were in a low vibration. Once I have the recognition, then I need to do the work. I know where I need to go. I know what I need to do to live. Not that I shouldn't have it, but now I want to transform it. I want to transcend it. You see, sometimes we've been living in a low vibration for so long that we mistakenly believe that this is our natural state of being. Oh, this is just the way I am. No. Let's be clear. Say, oh, this is the way I'm choosing to be. Not the way you are. And if you're choosing to be that, at least have some inner integrity to say, you know what, I'm choosing to be depressed. I'm choosing to be upset. I'm choosing to feel disconnected. Because that's what we're doing. We are choosing that. And so we've got to be able to see when we're in that state that, oh, okay, this is where I am. I don't have to be here. I can do something different. There is a way out. Because everything that happens in life, everything, is an opportunity to raise your vibration. Everything is an opportunity to raise your consciousness. Everything is an opportunity to take the high road, to learn the lesson and then receive the blessing. Everything. This is what I found from a place called Collective Evolution, and they put out these different quotes, Collective Evolution, and they said this: anything that annoys you is teaching you patience. Anyone who abandons you is teaching you how to stand up on your own 2 feet. Anything that angers you is teaching you forgiveness and compassion. Anything that has power over you is teaching you how to take your power back. Anything you hate is teaching you unconditional love. Anything you fear is teaching you courage to overcome your fear. And anything you can't control is teaching you how to let go. I love that, because life is always teaching us. And our reactions, our thoughts, our behavior are all indications of our own growing edge. Everything can be raised to a higher level, a higher consciousness. And at some point, we have to make the decision, will I go low or will I go high? I loved Michelle Obama's statement when she said, when they go low, we go high. Remember that? When they go low, we go high. And that was a clue, because I used to say, how can they withstand all of that force of that negative energy that was, being directed at, whether you think it's good or bad or right or wrong, but I'm talking about the intensity of the negativity that was directed. They said, fine, when they go low, we go high. That's what enables you to be able to bear and to sustain anything that life throws at you. When it feels low, you better go high. That's the secret to it, because we are meant to go high. We are meant to live high, and we will be amazed at how our life will begin to be a radiant force for God when we're committed to living it from a higher consciousness. Your life will change. Your whole life will change. If your eye is single. If your eye is single, your whole body, which is your experience, that meaning your whole life, will be filled with light. So you have a choice to make. Will you go high or will you lay low? I'm going high. Namaste and blessings. Namaste. Blessings. Blessings. Wonderful.